another CAT previous year passage. Let's start. Language is not a cultural artifact that we learn the way we learn to tell time or how the federal government works. Instead, it is a distinct piece of the biological makeup of our brains. First 2-3 lines are always very important. Artifact means a handmade object. So a cultural artifact would be a man-made thing, such as a tool or an ornament, which would give idea about its creator's culture. And biological makeup means what we humans are made up of. So these lines are saying that language is not a thing that we learn. Instead, it is like cells or DNA that is inside us. Now have a glance at the whole para and you will see language appearing again and again, and that would be the topic of this RC. Let's write the first block of our flowchart or mind map, whatever you want to call it as, language. Even if you don't know the meaning of cultural artifact or biological makeup, you will do just fine. Simply skip these difficult words and read it as language is not a part of culture, it is a part of our brain. Reading further, language is a complex, specialized skill which develops in the child spontaneously without conscious effort or formal instruction, is deployed without awareness of its underlying logic, is qualitatively the same in every individual, and is distinct from more general abilities to process information or behave intelligently. For these reasons, some cognitive scientists have described language as a psychological faculty, a mental organ, a neural system, and a computational module. But I prefer the admittedly quaint term instinct. So, the para talks about how language comes instinctively or develops in the child spontaneously. Scientists call it psychological faculty and several other things, but author prefers to call it instinct. So we will draw another block coming out from language, in which we will write, we need not learn it, it develops. Language comes from instinct. This same thing was said in the first 2 lines also. Reading further, it conveys the idea that people know how to talk in more or less the sense that spiders know how to spin webs. Web spinning was not invented by some unsung spider genius and does not depend on having had the right education or on having an aptitude for architecture or the construction trades. Rather, spiders spin spider webs because they have spider brains, which give them the urge to spin and the competence to succeed. Although there are differences between webs and words, I will encourage you to see language in this way, for it helps to make sense of the phenomena we will explore. Author strengthens his point that language comes naturally to us by giving example of spider and their art of web spinning. In second block, we will add the reference of spider. Spinning comes naturally to spiders. Let's move to the third para. Thinking of language as an instinct inverts the popular wisdom, especially as it has been passed down in the canon of the humanities and social sciences. Language is no more a cultural invention than is upright posture. It is not a manifestation of a general capacity to use symbols. A 3-year-old, we shall see, is a grammatical genius, but is quite incompetent at the visual arts, religious iconography, traffic science, and the other staples of the semiotics curriculum. Here, author is saying that popular understanding about language is that it is a cultural invention, but author does not agree with this popular wisdom. Language is not a cultural invention, and this is what we started with in the first para, that language is not a cultural artifact. This point is getting repeated. Let's note it. Reading further, he cites the example which is written after colon. We can skip this part. Let's read further. Though language is a magnificent ability unique to Homo sapiens among living species, it does not call for sequestering the study of humans from the domain of biology, for a magnificent ability unique to a particular living species is far from unique in the animal kingdom. Some kinds of bats home in on flying insects using Doppler sonar. Some kinds of migratory birds navigate thousands of miles by calibrating the positions of the constellations against the time of day and year. In nature's talent show, we are simply a species of primate with our own act. A knack for communicating information about who did what to whom by modulating the sounds we make when we exhale. So basically, language is unique to humans. But that being unique is not a big deal because different species have their own unique things. This point author further explains by giving example of bats and migratory birds. This point is noteworthy. Then author is further telling how humans communicate by sound modulation. Let's note the important points. Language is unique to humans, but different species also have unique things, and humans communicate through sound modulation. Okay, moving on to the third and last para. Once you begin to look at language not as the ineffable essence of human uniqueness, but as a biological adaptation to communicate information, it is no longer as tempting to see language as an insidious shaper of thought, and we shall see it is not. Moreover, seeing language as one of nature's engineering marvel, an organ with that perfection of structure and co-adaptation which justly excites our admiration, in Darwin's words, gives us a new respect of our ordinary Joe and the much maligned English language. So this is what Darwin said. We will skip quotes in our flowchart. The complexity of language from the scientist's point of view is part of our biological birthright. It is not something that parents teach their children or something that must be elaborated in school. Again, the same point is getting repeated. Language is not something we can teach to someone. It is inherent. Next, we have a quote of Oscar. We will skip this part too. A preschooler's tacit knowledge of grammar is more sophisticated than the thickest style manual or the most state-of-the-art computer language system. And the same applies to all healthy human beings, even the notorious syntax fracturing professional athlete and the like inarticulate teenage skateboarder. Finally, since language is the product of a well-engineered biological instinct, we shall see that it is not the nutty barrel of monkeys that the entertainer columnists make it out to be. So we can totally skip the specifics and quotes in this para. In the end, it again talks about instinct, which we have already covered. So we won't be adding anything more to our flowchart. This passage of almost 700 words can be comprehended by simple 30 odd words, which only capture the gist. Not the whole para, but the gist. Now let's solve the questions. Question 1. Which of the following can be used to replace the spiders know how to spin webs analogy as used by the author? In spider analogy, author explained, as spinning web comes naturally or instinctively to spiders, so is language to human. So we need to find same analogy in the option where a quality or attribute is biologically inherent. Option A, a kitten learning to jump over a wall. This option is about learning and not instinctively knowing. Option B, bees collecting nectar. Yes, this is very similar to spider spinning web. It comes naturally or instinctively to bees. Options C, D, and E are attributes given by humans. These animals are taught to perform these functions. Hence, correct answer is option B. Bees collecting nectar. Next question. According to the passage, which of the following is unique to human beings? A. Ability to use symbols while communicating with each other. B. Ability to communicate with each other through voice modulation. C. Ability to communicate information to other members of the species. D. Ability to use sound as means of communication. E. All of the above. Now, passage has already stated in fourth paragraph, and I quote, "In nature's talent show, we are simply a species of primate with our own act, a knack for communicating information about who did what to whom by modulating the sounds." So, answer is option B. Author never said that non-humans cannot use symbols or cannot communicate using sounds. Next question. According to the passage, complexity of language cannot be taught by parents or at school to children because A. Children instinctively know language. B. Children learn the language on their own. C. Language is not amenable to teaching. D. Children know language better than their teachers or parents. And E. Children are born with knowledge of semiotics. Passage has clearly mentioned multiple times that humans or children know language instinctively. It's not something that they learn or can be taught by teachers and parents. So only option A is correct as per passage. In option E, word semiotics means study of signs and symbol. In fact, the passage says opposite, that children are incompetent in semiotics. Next question. Which of the following best summarizes the passage? A. Language is unique to Homo sapiens. This is true, but not the crux of the passage. Option B. Language is neither learned nor taught. This is one of the points stated in the passage, but it fails to summarize the main theme. Passage is less about language being taught or learned. It is more about language coming from instincts. Option C. Language is not a cultural invention or artifact as it is made out. This also is too narrow to consider as the summary. It is only one of the opinions of the author. Option D. Language is instinctive ability of human beings. The essence of passage that language comes naturally to us or is instinctive is mentioned either directly or with reference of some examples in almost all the paragraphs. Hence, this seems like the most apt summary. Option E. Language is use of symbols unique to human beings. This is a wrong inference. The passage has nowhere mentioned that language is use of symbols only. So, best summary is option D. Next question. According to the passage, which of the following does not stem from popular wisdom on language? Now, author's opinion about language is opposite to the popular wisdom about it, which is that language is a biological and instinctive skill, not anything to do with teaching or culture, as the popular wisdom or popular understanding believes. Let's read all the options. Language is a cultural artifact, language is a cultural invention, language is learned as we grow, language is unique to Homo sapiens, language is a psychological faculty. You can see that first four options are alike and can be clubbed as the opinion of popular wisdom, according to which language is a cultural artifact or invention and it is learned as we grow and it's unique to humans. All these four ideas are negated by author, who instead supports the last option, that language is the psychological faculty. Option E does not stem from the popular wisdom. In fact, it is the contradictory point given by the author against the popular wisdom. Thinking of language as an instinct or psychological faculty inverts the popular wisdom. Hence, the correct option is option E. So, I will end this session by saying the same thing again. This drawing the flowchart is a practice thing that I will recommend if you have sufficient time in hand before exams. Once you get confident, simply skip the pen and paper. Thank you for watching.